Hello, and welcome to this new video. Here I am exploring what I think is going to be an extremely useful tool for personal injury attorneys going forward. And I think it's going to help with client intake. I think it could potentially revolutionize client intake for a law firm that perhaps has too many prospective clients, too many people trying to meet with them and tell them the facts of their case, doing consultations, and the attorneys just don't have enough time. And so here there is a scenario that I envision where you could um, sort of send somebody a script on your website or email them a script of questions you want them to answer in their recorded interview, right? And they could do this over voice memo or a Zoom call recording, a YouTube video, whatever, and then they could send it to your firm, and then from there, you'd be able to upload it to this AI software I'm going to show you, or I'm sure there's others that also do something similar. And that could allow you to sort of get to the point in the facts of the case and see whether or not this is a client you want to take on, whether or not you like it. And you could make sure you get more information than you need, but then are able to go to just the information that you need and not have to sort of waste your time or the client's time on things that might not bear fruit. And so let me show you what this might look like. And I'm also going to try and use an interesting example. Um, so, this is a newer type of group in the personal injury litigation space, and they're called detransitioners. So these are individuals who once pursued transition and underwent the medical interventions involved with that, only to later come to regret it or find that they were harmed by it, and now they are seeking compensation for that. And so their claims include claims of fraud, claims of medical malpractice, negligence, sometimes even discrimination in one case. So anyway, there's claims available to them. None of them have finished litigation, so these are early on, but this is going to be an increasing amount of litigation around this. I do think we are just at the beginning of it, with over a couple dozen in the United States at large. But the reason why I think this is a growing population that will get more and more litigation around it is, let me share my screen. Here we go. First of all, there's insurance data, and there's a Hill article that discusses that. It's the Hill article is titled something like "The Wave of Detransition or Litigation," something like that, and they talk about a Reuters analysis or something. Anyway, and they just show the population of these things. But here is a website called Subreddit Stats, and one of these subreddits is called DTrans, and it has 51,000 subscribers currently. So there's a lot of interest in this, and here it was in 2019 with less than 500, and now we are at 51,000. So this is clearly a population that's growing. Obviously, not everybody who is subscribed to this is a detransitioner, but many of them are. And yeah, and they use this forum to share their experiences. There's even a law firm in Dallas that recently opened up, and they are dedicated entirely to the issue of detransitioners, representing them and pursuing compensation. And in my personal research of this issue, I think the earliest case is 2022, and the insurance companies and healthcare providers are fighting like hell. And so who knows when we will start seeing the verdicts come out and how these things result. All right, so with that being said, let's get to the actual application of what I'm talking about, and that would be Notebook LM or other language models as well. So here, oh gosh, it's probably confusing. So let me go back to Notebook Guide. All right, lose my ass. You've got to be kidding me. View chat? Okay, all right, cool. Still getting familiar with this myself. So what we have here is, let's pretend we are a personal injury attorney and we are considering representing this individual named Vera. And Vera has, a lot to say. They have a very long story, and we want to make sure we're aware of all of that, so we can, make a informed decision on whether or not we are best suited to represent them. And imagine a situation where Vera were to make this recording and is kind of, sending it them recording it by themselves. It wouldn't be this interview situation, but we'd get a lot of information. And so here, let's imagine our client sent us, this is 2.5 hours. This one is, 1 hour 15. So let's imagine we got, something close to 4 hours worth of recording from a client. And, obviously this is an interview and it is a very entertaining interviewer. He does a great job at telling the full story and they're not focused on discussing the law at all. But let's imagine, this person was, let's just imagine it. All right, we would take the recordings like we have here and we could upload them into the Notebook LM. And so I've already done that here. So video one, video two, and then here I've uploaded the Campbell Miller Payne website. And in that website, they discuss some of the claims here. And all that information is pulled by the language model. And yeah, it's able to kind of get a better idea of what it is that we, the user, are interested in. And am I sharing my screen? Let me make sure. I am. Okay. All right. So this is called retrieval augmented generation. So the large language model has a ton of information at its disposal. That's an understatement of the century. But with retrieval augmented generation, we're able to kind of focus it, give it more context as to what it is that we care about, what it is that we're interested in. And if I had a PDF or digital copy of like the restatement of torts, right, the most recent version or something, or a textbook on medical malpractice claims, I would upload those as sources as well prior to my query. So here's a brief summary of it. Obviously, these interviews were not recorded with the intent that we're using them for. So we'll keep that in mind and imagine that it would be even better if they were. And now we're going to go to Notebook Guide, no, View Chat. All right, we're going to go to View Chat. And so here's the first question I asked, and my wording is not perfect. I'm pretty loose with it because I understand AI is just tokenizing my query. It's tokenizing the meaning of these things, and it doesn't really care if you're speaking eloquently or whatever. So I am a personal injury attorney, and Vera wants me to represent them. What are the legal claims that are best available to them? Consider medical malpractice, misdiagnosis, fraud because of the problems that were going to be solved by transition, but were not, and discuss the obstacle of informed consent and how it can be avoided. Furthermore, assume that Vera is a citizen of the United States. Misspelled. So here, the reason why we're doing that is Vera in reality is actually from one of the Nordic countries. I don't remember which one. I haven't watched the podcast in a couple years, but it was, yeah. So she's not actually a United States citizen. And so I need to kind of tell the AI to play around or look at it from this perspective. So assume that Vera is a citizen of the United States, born in Texas, always lived here. Everything they share also happened in Texas. Otherwise, we might get a thing about jurisdiction and that like there is no claim, which would be entirely correct. All right, use the Campbell Miller Payne website as a guide for claims and discussing them. So here's the response that I get. This is all pretty boilerplate. Breach of duty, duty of care, breach of duty, causation, damages. But here's where it starts to get interesting. Failing to properly diagnose her condition. Vera could argue that her mental health issues and difficult upbringing were not properly diagnosed, leading to the transition as a misdiagnosis, or here it would leading to gender dysphoria as a misdiagnosis. And why, where in this, 4 hours of video am I going to find that? Well, that is answered right here in these little footnote things. So you don't actually want to click on it in this situation because it's just going to tell you, I got it from video one, not video two. And it's not really going to tell you where because it just highlighted everything. But if I look at this, it will then pull out the excerpt because the way the AI works is it's chunking the data and it's going to show me the chunks that are relevant to my query. And, here we have this part, discussing the troubled childhood, the difficult upbringing, right? So that's something maybe the therapist missed a couple months ago. So here we have a discussion about this surgery, I believe, things leading up to the surgery, discussions with the therapist. So that would be, as an attorney, something we are going to go let's read this thoroughly. Let's jump to that part. And the reason why you're able to do that is because you've probably got another AI software that is going to auto-generate a transcript of your potential client's entire interview that they recorded for you. And so here, that's a different thing. Here's the transcript, right? This is how this is working. There's an auto-generated transcript, and it's just stripped from here and fed into the AI. So yeah, that's telling us, what we're interested in as the attorney. We are able to kind of go straight to that point. Failing to obtain informed consent, Vera could assert that she was not adequately informed of the risks and potential consequences of transition procedures, particularly given her age and mental health history. So if I'm not mistaken, just going off of my memory here, Vera was a minor when they started transition. And yeah, so we could kind of, what is substantiating this claim? Boom, this paragraph. Um, yeah, I started, okay, 14. All right, here is some more stuff substantiating the claim. And so you kind of get the point on how this works. Performing unnecessary procedures, Vera could argue that the double mastectomy and hysterectomy were not medically necessary and were performed prematurely. So if I'm the attorney, this is kind of what I'm looking for. I kind of just struck gold, not in a financial sense, but in like, what I'm looking for. Vera could argue that the double mastectomy, yeah. So already I know the procedures they underwent, they've undergone, and okay, let's look and learn more about that. Or this seems like a good client for us to take. Here I think we could really represent them well. All right, informed consent. Here we're getting a little discussion of informed consent. That's what I asked for. Fraud. Medical professionals misrepresented the nature of gender dysphoria and its treatment. Great. This is something that is going to be pivotal to making our claim and establishing, we deserve compensation. All right, they can come back in a year or two, other mental health issues. So, all right, they downplayed or concealed the risks and potential negative consequences, proving causation between medical. Yeah. They induced Vera to undergo unnecessary and expensive medical interventions. This is also ringing many alarm bells. So I love how good the AI was at issue spotting. And I think part of this was because in my query, I included, I made sure that the Campbell Miller Pain was a source that I could use. And I could only imagine how much better this would be if I had uploaded, a restatement of torts or, a book that is focused on medical malpractice claims or fraud claims in a medical context. Yeah, that would be really impressive. And so, I'm not going to bore you and read through all this, but what are things? So I have a memory of listening to this podcast a couple years ago, and it was heart-wrenching, really upsetting some of the stuff. And one of the things I remember is that the surgeon said things that were really unprofessional, and that displayed they were motivated by money and not by the patient's well-being. And so here I kind of just riffed off of that. What are things that Vera Surgeon did or said that can be used against him in a court to show his wrongdoing? And here, yeah, we get an answer on that. Yep, so there is stuff here worth looking into. Vera's therapist expressed concern about the rushed nature of the surgery, suggesting Vera was not ready. The surgeon seemingly disagreed to these concerns and proceeded with the operation. So here we have the surgeon disagreeing with the therapist allegedly, and we can read more about that here. And also, I could control F any one of these, sentences in the actual transcript that I have auto-generated. So here it's from this video. Let me just show what that looks like. So anxiety, PTSD, hormonal. So yeah, let's say I want to read more about Tumblr, whatever. I want to read more about Tumblr on YouTube. I will go to this video and I will control F, Tumblr. Cool. And there it is. So that is kind of, this will bring me to it. I can read more if I want to get more context to the chunk that the language model is showing me. Surgeon asked Vera to critique his photography portfolio after making the insensitive suggestion about volunteering for war. This behavior further highlights his inappropriate and self-serving conduct during a medical consultation where Vera was seeking help for complication. complications related to the surgery he performed. So I remember this. This is actually what I was talking about. The surgeon, had discussed kind of not really caring at all about the ideology behind these procedures, but also recommended that Vera go and volunteer in Ukraine if they, don't feel purpose in their life, and go fight for that cause. And that the overall tone and timing of it was really strange and just suggests this guy was off his rocker. Um, Medical ethics, fraud. Surgeon operates a private clinic, performs double mastectomies without requiring referrals, diagnoses, or completion of the official transition process. I mean, this is just wild. And so here, as the attorney, without having a potentially, couple hour long consultation or maybe half an hour, whatever, I'm able to kind of get right in. Let's, really imagine the utility of this if you have an overwhelming amount of potential clients. So yeah, this is really amazing, and you could ask it more and more questions if you want. We're still on the source guide. I don't know how to get off of that, but go back to notebook guide, view chat, close this. Yeah, and now it's pulling from the other interview as well. And so this is actually cool because you could, in a certain way, I mean, let's just imagine a really uh, obviously client, face-to-face interactions with the client is extremely important, but just for some reason you can't do it. You find something that you need to know more about. You ask them, can you send me another voice memo where you were discussing this thing? I want to know who, what, where, when, why, how on this specific issue that you briefly mentioned, but I want to know more. And again, it would be able to tell you, analyze that as well, or you run both of them. I don't know. I see a lot of potential things. Disclaimer, I'm a chatbot, cannot provide any legal advice. That's great. But that's what we're here for. All right. So yeah, I really hope you found this interesting. I'm gonna stop the screen share. But yeah, I hope you found this interesting. I hope you are already imagining your own uses for this. I'm going to do more videos. And if you were curious how I uploaded this stuff to turn it into sources for Notebook LM, I have two videos prior that show that, as well as the podcast generation. So if I wanted to, I could have asked the AI to create a podcast essentially, and I would be able to also prompt the podcast to focus on legal claims. And then I could listen to maybe a 10-minute version of the AI telling me, this is Vera's story. And it's going to focus on facts that are relevant to the legal claims. And then it might even suggest, which claims are the best, if that's what I want it to do. And so really amazing uses here, especially in this video, we focused on client intake. And yeah, so I hope you have your own ideas. And if you want to share them with me in the comments, I'd be happy to see that, read them, and even make a video about them. And yeah, so that being said, enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.